Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. The classic rock band Foghat headlines the annual Rock and Roll for Children benefit concert at the Fillmore in Silver Spring, Maryland on Saturday, March 9th. I spoke to the band's founding drummer Roger Earl about hits like Slow Ride, as well as John Belinkie, founder of the Rock and Roll for Children Foundation, which raises money for the Children's Inn at NIH. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP in Washington, D.C.
Nice to hear you, Jason, and thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Roger Earl, drummer of Foghat, the classic rock band of Slow Ride. And we also have John Belinkie, who's on the line, too, the founder of the Rock and Roll for Children benefit.
Okay. Hey, Jason, we are very grateful that you're here and obviously delighted that Roger's coming down to perform.
Yeah, it's for a good cause, and we're coming down the day before, so Linda and I, our manager, my wife and my girlfriend, I'm married to, what is it, the Holy Trinity, I guess. Hopefully we're going to get a chance to sort of meet some of the kids and talk to them. I'm going to keep some drumsticks in a backpack just in case somebody looks like they could use them. But there again, I don't want these kids damaging themselves with drumsticks.
Keep a close eye on the drumstick.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on them.
well, is it at the Fillmore again in Silver Spring?
Fillmore, Silver Spring, Saturday night, March 9th, and things kick off at 6:30, and there's a couple bands warming everybody up for Foghat to crush it.
Awesome. Awesome.
And then after that, I believe somebody suggested they were going to have a jam session, and I'm always up for that.
That's the plan at the end of the night. From Indie Music is organizing that.
Yeah, John's a good friend of mine.
So Roger, obviously you and Foghat, you're sort of the headliner, if you will. But Roger, do you know, or if John, if you need to take this either way, like, do you know what all band members are going to be on stage?
Yes, a local band, Mojo Sun, that's joined by Ron Holloway, who's just wonderful on the horn, is going to lead things off at 6:30, and then probably around 7:30, quarter to 8. Tusk, which is a unbelievable Fleetwood Mac tribute band, is going to take the stage, and then we're hopeful around 9:15 or so, 9:30, Foghat's going to come out and they'll just tear it apart.
Awesome. And Roger, have you played with any of these folks before? Like, do you know any of the Tusk members or anything, or is this going to be a first time collab?
Probably a first time, but I have played with Fleetwood Mac in my early days back in England when I was in Savoy Brown, and I've known the members of the band of Fleetwood Mac for years, so I'm looking forward to hearing Tusk. Fleetwood Mac, what a great band, what an incredible history they have as well, so that'll be enjoyable.
Oh yeah, you can speak to the original real Fleetwood Mac, and so they got big shoes to fill here.
No, anybody who can play Fleetwood Mac songs and sing like they did, they have to have their shit together, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jason, they should just be happy they're coming on before Foghat and not after.
I love
go that far.
Well, how many Roger, how many members of like the original Foghat are going to be there with you, or how many replacements have been in recent years, that kind of thing?
Only me. Everybody else has passed. So Brian Bassett, our lead and slide guitar player, has been with us 28 years. He was originally in a band called Wild Cherry back in 1976. They had a hit with
Play That Funky Music.
Funky Music, white boy. Yeah, he was the lead guitar player, and he was also in Molly Hatchet. We saved him from that. Actually, he's an incredible guitar player, wonderful human being, and he's been with us 27 years. Rodney O'Quinn, our bass player, has been with us 8 years after our original bass player, Craig McGregor, died 9 years ago now. No.
2018.
Yeah. I'm not good with dates like that, but I remember the person. Craig McGregor and I were really brothers in every sense of the word. He'd been with us since 1975, and yeah, we were really tight. Bass players and drummers, they hang tight together. Craig once told me, bass players and drummers, he said, me and you, Roger, he said, we lay the road down that the rest of them travel on, which which I kind of liked. Yeah, I miss my brother. But the current band is incredible. We're having the time of our lives. Scott Holt has been with us for 2 years, lead singer and lead guitar player. He spent 10 years with Buddy, playing in Buddy Guy's band, so he can play and sing. Yeah. I've known him since 2014. He's played on our last 2 live studio albums, and we also have another side project called Earl and the Agitators that Scott Holt leads. He is now our lead singer. Our previous lead singer, Charlie Hune, who was with the band for 20 years, retired just over 2 years ago. So this is the 3rd year that Scott has been with us, but we've been friends and played together since 2014. That's a brief synopsis of the history of Foghat.
Yeah. Thanks. That was of the band members. That was a good roundup. I guess Lonesome Dave died in 2000, I think. So gosh, that's been a while, longer than I realized now.
22 years ago.
24 years, something. I don't know. I'm bad at math, but
yeah.
Wow.
I don't remember when they passed. I just remember them being here. In fact, my wife remembers all the dates because she has it in her journal, and so she reminds me each day of the days that happened when they passed, when they had birthdays. When they pass, that sort of kind of bothers me, but I like to remember their birthdays and the time we spent together. And I talk about them regularly. So, and I have pictures all over the house. I think pictures are important. When after somebody's passed, I still feel that they're with me. They're out there with me when I walk, when I talk, when I play. I'm not trying to get maudling here, but it's how I feel about it. They were all a big part of my life, and I have great memories.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm fine if you want to get whatever spiritual whatever with it, because they you never walk alone. They're always with you, and the music lives on forever. The music's eternal, frozen in time. You're all there together, jamming forever.
Yeah, I live the life I love, and I love the life I live. So maybe we should play that.
You should. There you go. Perfect for the set.
That's right. Sounds like a good song.
Yeah, exactly.
It is. It's a great blues tune, actually.
Well, while we're doing the trip down memory lane, I mean, I want to wrap it back around to the benefit, in a second, and bring John back in. But real quick, remind us how you all actually formed. It was in London in like 71. Is that right?
That's correct. I was 3 of us were in the band Savoy Brown from like 67 to the end of 1970, and myself and Lonesome Dave left Savoy Brown and formed Foghat. It took us a year or so to get it together. Our first album came out in 1972, and that was the beginning of that part of the journey.
And that was the self-titled one, and it had "I Just Want to Make Love to You" on it, right? The cover, the blues song.
Yeah, it was written by Willie Dixon and first covered by Muddy Waters. I actually met Muddy Waters and played with him in 1977, and I met Willie Dixon, who wrote so many great blues tunes. Without people like Willie Dixon, there would be no rock and roll. And I met him in 1977 out in Chicago. He came to see a show with a couple of his kids, and I got the opportunity to go to his house and have dinner with him, with Dave and Rob Price.
Wow.
And he was incredible. And I got to meet his daughter again recently, who served us at his house, and she was 7 or 8 years old back then. And I got to meet her last year in Chicago, where they have the Blues Heaven Foundation that she runs. It was it was interesting. We were at the Blues Heaven Foundation, which is Willie Dixon's foundation, and we're going around. It's the old Chess Records building, which spawned so many incredible blues and rock and roll records. Chuck Berry, it's incredible. Anyway, this rather beautiful young woman, I guess she's about 25 now, maybe a bit more than that, is smiling at me, and I'm going, I don't know her. Why she's smiling at me like she knows me. And then afterwards, she told me that she was serving myself and Rod and Dave when we were at dinner, and she was 7 years old then. That's why I didn't recognize her. But it was, I have all those sort of wonderful things from time to time pop up, people that I've met over the years. It's, I love what I do, and I'm so happy that I've got a chance, and the whole band has got a chance to do this. I mean, Benefit Rock and Roll for Children's Foundation. It's I'm really looking forward to doing this.
Yeah, and John Blinky, hop back in here. When did you discover Foghat? Do you remember? Do you remember that? That I Just Want to Make Love to You sort of breakthrough, or was it more like Slow Ride a couple years later?
I'll tell you my brush with Foghat greatness. Obviously, I loved their music my whole life. I started to play guitar when I was getting close to my 40th birthday, and somebody gave me a gift of rock and roll fantasy camp, and Rod was one of the counselors, if you will. And I got to spend some time with him and play with him, and shortly before he passed away, and it was a neat experience. But who doesn't love Foghat's music? I mean, it's epic.
Yeah, Rob Price was an incredible guitar player, brilliant slide guitar. Do you play slide, John?
I do not play. I'm a lousy rhythm guitarist, but I've got game.
You should call him up on stage with that exact moniker. And now the lousy rhythm guitar.
Nobody's
right. Lousy. Fortunately, I never gave up my day job, but this charity has enabled me to stay involved.
A number of years back, I was out in Colorado, and we were riding our bikes, myself and Linda, and we stopped off at a record store. And over the record store was a sign. It said, "Without music, life would be a mistake." So, I think people get so many memories from music. It reminds you of moments in time and what you've been doing. And another thing that I think is important, music should always change. I think if it stayed the same, I don't think it would be good. Every generation has music and songs that reminds them of where they were at certain times. I mean, it's been that way since they started recording. What was that, back in the 20s, I think, something like that. So yeah, music is very important, I think, to life, and I'm one of those fortunate few that earns a living doing something I love. So I'm very grateful for that.
Absolutely. Well, before I bring it back to the benefit, my listeners will kill me if I don't at least ask one question about Slow Ride, since that is like the thing everybody knows. But then
as a biggie.
I mean, do you remember putting it together, being in the studio? Any cool insights of when that was actually before it was this famous thing everybody knew about? Putting it together musically.
Well, actually, 1974. Nick Jameson, a longtime producer, joined the band on bass. Tony Stevens, bass player, left the band. And myself and Rob Price co-owned a house out here on Long Island. I was living up in Bearsville, Woodstock at the time, and I was good friends with Nick Jameson. We used to go and play badminton and stuff like that together and jam at the local bars. And we didn't have a bass player, so I asked Nick if he wanted to join the band, which he did. We drove down to Long Island, and Rod and I had the basement soundproofed. Very important if Foghat's playing. And literally, Dave was at the microphone and said, I got this song, and the band arranged it. Actually, Nick Jameson actually arranged the song, and then later on in 74, 75, we went up to Sharon, Vermont, on the top of a mountain down there because we wanted to get away from all the noise and bustle of the city and whatever. And it was the first time actually that the band had taken any time off the road to record since the first album, where we had like a year off the road, year and a half off the road. Yeah. So we took about 3 months off the road, and that's where we started it. And right from the beginning, it was 7 minutes and 40 seconds. And I remember Nick Jameson and I, well, Nick mixed it, but I was there. I basically brought in tea and biscuits and said, turn the drums up. But we drove back down to Woodstock to see Paul Fishkin, who was the head of the record company, Bearsville Records. And we said, this is the new single. And Paul said, you can't have a single that's over 7 minutes long. And we said, yes, you can. And we insisted upon it. Well, we released it as a 7-minute single. And of course, DJs back then, a number of them actually started sort of cutting the ending part out anyway. So we remixed it at the end. But yeah, it's a classic tune. It actually started off with was basically a John Lee Hooker riff, and then we added Foghat to it. You know, like instead of playing it in a shuffle, we play it in a straight sort of 2/4. And at the beginning of the song, Nick said, "Just go bang, Rog." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Just go bang."
Just go bang.
Just go bang, which I do, and I love my job.
I love it. I love it. Hey, speaking of just go bang, who in your mind, Roger, were the best to ever just go bang? Do you have, I mean, there's so many legendary drummers. Is there one you think never gets enough credit? Or is there one that's like, justifiably, rated properly as the greatest drummer ever in your mind?
The way I approach drums is I play in a band. I mean, it's good fun, like to sort of, you have to work at it, initially when you're, learning how to play. And I took lessons for about 3 years, and I started when I was 11 or 12 years old. But it's all about the music. Of course, there's some incredible drummers. I mean, you just think of Buddy Rich and go all the way back, to, and then, like more modern drummers, John Bonham from Led Zeppelin, Ginger Baker, and I knew both of those people. I mean, I grew up with them. But it's all about the music. There's so many incredible drummers out there anyway. I think a drummer's job is to, support the song, support the lyrics, support the lead instrument. And I'm happy doing that. Occasionally I do drum solos, usually when the amps break down. but Buddy Rich. In fact, I have a picture of Buddy Rich up in my in the house. Drummers, they have fun. Also, the really cool thing about, I think, with drummers, we love to share the knowledge. You get a bunch of drummers together, and all they want to do is like sit down and pick up sticks and start tapping on stuff. And when I was growing up, I grew up in southwest London, in Hounslow, near Heathrow Airport, and I was always like, before I started taking drum lessons, I would tap on the good china with my knife and fork. I would use a lampshade as a symbol. My mother used to call me such a noisy sod. But actually, I had fantastic parents. They encouraged us in all sort of things that we did. We weren't sort of wealthy by any means. I grew up, after World War II, we were on rations until I was about 8 or 9. But there was always music in our house. We had a radio, the record player eventually, of course, and the TV. Any kind of musical thing that was going on the radio, we had it on. My father played piano. Mum sang, Dad sang. They came from the East End of London. If anybody's familiar with the East End of London, everybody loves to sing and play. So, you know what? I don't think I appreciated how cool my parents really were when I was growing up. Typical kids, think you know it all. But now I look back and I'm really grateful that I had the life that I had, because my parents encouraged us with any kind of direction we wanted to go. And I remember when I got my first drum kit when I was 15, I'd saved up after uh, I worked 3 nights a week after school, and a Saturday mornings in a bakery, and then I would go to my drum lessons Saturday afternoon. And when Dad had to sign on the dotted line for my first drum kit, and he said, "Well, you got to keep up the payments, son," which I did. It's yeah, and then I moved the drum kit into our dining living room, it was a small house. And as I started playing them, Mum came in and said, "This will never do." so I was moved out into Dad's woodworking shed, and they soundproofed it for me, and I would be in there. Drummer in the house, don't do it. Don't do it. Parents beware.
Yeah, because when you're drumming on the lampshade, the lights are flickering. Little strobe effect.
Yeah, right. But we didn't have strobes back then. That was a long time ago. In fact, we just had electricity, I think.
You invented it by hitting the lampshade. The light bulb was going on and off, it looked like, but it was just ideas right and left. So that's such great stories of growing up and yeah, nod to your parents and the backstory of the band. I love all hearing all that. I could talk that all day, but before we go, John, remind us the founding of the Rock and Roll for Children benefit. Right? It started in what, 2004? Like, what was the mission?
Well, we started in 2004 doing benefits for kids, and we actually formed the charity in 2008. And to give back, I mean, my personal things are kids and dogs, and either one is an easy thing for me to throw myself into. And certainly we're in the nation's capital, and we have the Children's Inn, which is a premier facility on the campus of NIH that treats kids that are really at their last hope of some of the experimental treatments that NIH is pushing forward. And it's just such a wonderful place where kids can have a respite from the care, and their families can stay together while they're in these long courses of treatment. And it's just it's a wonderful cause to support. And people don't realize that the Children's Inn, while located in DC, in the DC area, serves kids from 105 different countries.
Wow.
They're serving 1,500 families at the moment from all over the world, and none of these kids have to pay to be there. None of these families have to pay to stay there. And that's why it's so important that we do what we do to help them pay for this stuff, and families not have to go without treatment or be separated during these long periods of treatment.
Wow. That's such a great service. And do you, I don't, if you don't, it's okay, but do you know off the top of your head, like how much you've raised for the children?
We've raised over $1 million for kids' causes, and specifically over $500,000 for the Children's Inn.
Wow. That's incredible.
And we are the largest annual non-corporate donor of the Children's Inn year after year.
That's fantastic. Awesome. And you get to hear some good music in the process. That's awesome.
It's, you know what? Enough rubber chicken dinners and golf outings. This is a lot more fun.
Right. Exactly. So if people are hearing this and they want to, contribute and get involved, what is it? You just buy a ticket to the show, or there's also some like memorabilia, like auction stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
There's an amazing auction with an unbelievable array of music memorabilia, some of which are limited out there because you're not going to find stuff signed by Tom Petty or Charlie Watts,
right,
or Glenn Frey anymore, because they're gone. So what's out there is out there. We've got some beautiful pieces in the auction, a lot of experiences and trips, sports memorabilia, jewelry, a lot of wine and brown liquors, if that's your thing. Everybody can go to rockandrollforchildren.org, all spelled out. They can buy tickets. They can make donations. They can log into the auction right now and bid. It is online and live. And the Fillmore at 6:30 on March 9th is the place to be.
Absolutely.
And I just like to add that I have my last Ludwig drum kit up there for auction because I use DW drums now. This was like I used it through 85 through 96. That's up for auction. I have of course it was mine, and we're also giving some Foghat wine, donating Foghat wine.
I was going to mention that. Tell us about the wine And the wine bottles will be signed, and the drum kit will be signed, and
yes,
it's on. You can see the drum kit on the website now.
They can have a drum lesson if they want, yeah, it's one of the drums, because I didn't use them for so long. They were down at our studio down in Florida. One of the bass drums, there's 2 bass drums, 26-inch bass drums, big drums, and one of the rack toms were left out of their cases. So they, instead of red, they're kind of this puke orange, which makes them sort of look rather interesting. But there is they're all like together. The wine, we've been making wine since myself and Linda have been involved in winemaking since about 2005. I think our first wine was. They all come from the Central Coast of California. At the moment, we have a 2013 Pinot Noir, which is absolutely fabulous. We have a 2014 Chardonnay. They both come from the Central Coast of California. And yes, I and the band will sign them, and whatever else they need. And the same with the drum kit, that is up for auction. So good. I mean, it's all going to a good cause. I think we've got like 2 cases or 4 cases of wine going there.
Yeah, you guys have been wonderful to us, and we are so grateful and so excited to see you next week and to hear the performance.
Yeah, so
thank you, John.
The Ludwig drum set and the Foghat wine. John, in the final seconds, are there any other individual things you could tease, like this guitar signed by X or this drum kit by, you know what I mean, from other bands that might be they can bid on?
Oh my gosh, we have guitars from the Stones, Taylor Swift. We have a signed guitar from Taylor Swift, and then Taylor reached out and sent us another one with her picture airbrushed on it.
Oh, right.
She happens to be very, very philanthropic, and she's just been totally supportive of us every year. She's just I
think she's going places. You're gonna hear some stuff from her.
Well, I think she's probably going to win some Grammys, right?
Yeah, right. Or by the way, if they don't have her headlining the Super Bowl next year, something's wrong. That's just it's perfectly made for that.
She is a totally amazing artist.
Yeah.
I read nothing but really good things about her from her crew, people who work with her. An absolutely amazing woman and an amazing artist. I haven't had a chance to see her, but my daughters have. And there was a young woman who was doing our merchandise for a while, Rebecca, and she was just over the top about how incredible Taylor Swift is. And I think she does like a 3-hour set, concerts. It's like, wow.
And writes all of her own stuff. That's what's cool to me,
Right. New artists today who actually sing and play an instrument, I'm all for that.
Yeah, right.
Sing, play, write your own stuff, not just manufactured. And I respect it. Well, plenty of respect for Foghat as well. You got to come out and see Foghat and Tusk, the Fleetwood Mac cover band.
A week from this Saturday on March 9th.
It's going to be a really good time. So, hey, thank you so much for doing this.
It's our pleasure. And Roger, I can't wait to hear you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting you, John and Jason. Thank you for doing this. A good time will be had by one and all. We're going to boot heels and sneakers away.
He's come a long way from playing drums on those lampshades, baby.
Yeah,
that's right.
All right. Well, you can wear a lampshade on your head at the show if you want.
On March 9th, he's going to be a fool in our city.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.